Cern Basher is here, and he says that he would like to talk about, I don't know, megapacks being deployed in some new country or something. So this is the top news of the week, right?
I think so. Yeah, there really hasn't been much going on with Tesla lately.
It's
It's
hard.
it's I feel like we're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel this week for news.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing about President Trump and Elon Musk having any kind of spat.
Oh, that was so last week.
Oh yeah, that is. Oh, but they're getting back together.
I don't think they were ever apart, but that's a whole separate discussion.
You think it was an entirely what do they call it now? Something splay, cosplay or something cosplay.
Whatever. Yeah, it was staged. It was faked. It was whatever you want to call it, orchestrated. I don't think necessarily down to, every single last post or tweet or whatever, but I'm not convinced that that was a real feud.
I see. I see. Interesting. If I had been writing the script for it, I think I would have stopped short of a couple of the tweets that went out. Maybe it would have been better.
Well, you have to make it seem authentic. You have
I
to
see.
make it,
I
you
see.
have to convince most of the country that they really were fighting.
I see. Okay.
And they almost did it, in my opinion. They almost convinced everybody, but not quite.
They didn't convince you.
No.
Yeah. All right. So do you believe this was for Trump's benefit or for Musk's benefit or both?
Um, I think in the end, both. But as it relates to the big, beautiful bill, I think to put pressure on the Republicans to get maybe a little bit more serious about the process, although there's some differences of opinion about what you can do within a budget reconciliation bill.
Hmm.
Can you actually cut much, if anything, in that sort of situation?
Right.
Um, I also think that in terms of the relationship with China, that may give Trump a bit more leeway. It also may be helpful to Elon. Yep.
To be a little more separated.
Yep. And then just separating the two in general, I think, is good. Obviously, they're going to continue to have many, many private conversations.
I would hope so. Of course, this is a great hope, way at the top of my list of hopes that they will
Yes.
work very closely together. All right. So after all our jiving around at the beginning, there was another story this week had something to do with some kind of autonomous ride hail or something. You know.
Yeah, I came across this image, Randy. Does this have anything to do with it?
Oh yeah, there you go. That image. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Not sure what that actually says. It's hard to read.
Yeah, my partner of some almost well over 30 years combined in various different businesses. My Terry Brown, he was our graphic artist for the company, and he used to say that that when you create a logo or any signage, you want it to be a fast read.
Yeah.
Don't think this passes the test.
No, but I think if they stick with this, it'll become recognizable pretty
Yeah,
quickly. It's one of those things where it'll be more of an image than read,
right.
right? But yeah. All right. So we go from the flames of that past the flames of the disclaimer. First of all, we have to start with some Cybertruck photos. I'm sorry, but we just
Of
have to
course.
go there.
Yes.
I thought this was particularly cool. This is a nice pairing. If you're going to do a road trip, it would be nice to have this set up.
Yeah.
Craig, road tripping with my little friend, he says. So
Oh,
it probably hurts the efficiency a little bit of the
maybe,
of
yeah.
the truck, but still, that's a very good way of doing it.
That's
And
why.
I'm sure he has fun getting the little friend on top of the Cybertruck. That, does he jump it up there, or how does he get it up there?
Yeah, and then when you're on the road, how do you get it on and off? There must be like a piece of plywood in the trunk or something. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that these ramps fold down here, whatever this is up here. Yeah. And then, of course, this one caught the eye of my wife. Um, she's been asking for a gold Cybertruck. I'm
Yeah.
not sure that this is what I would have in mind, but it is interesting. It is fancy. I'll give it that.
There's a popular Xer called Kelly, and Kelly has a gold Model S. So I think maybe this person caught how Kelly had done her vehicle because this looks almost identical in terms of the color.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't be missed with that, that's for sure. Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to the real news of the week.
All right.
Right. So we had our first ever Model Y Robotaxi sighting in Austin with no one in the driver's seat. Now, these vehicles have been driving around for a little bit testing, so it's kind of interesting that this video is the one that kind of went viral.
Right.
But it did have the Robotaxi logo on the side, so I guess that was one of the differences.
That would be a tell.
Yeah. So Elon responded. He said, "Beautifully simple design." So I guess he's partial to the logo and everything.
Yeah.
And then this came out from Elon of the EV universe. He says if Apple had partnered with Tesla, this is what the vehicle would look like with Apple's latest liquid display
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Tesla missed an opportunity, or Apple missed an opportunity to partner with Tesla on this. They really could have done something amazing.
100%.
Yeah. And then Owen Sparks asks, when do the first public rides start? We're all drooling over that, from this tiny clip from today. And Elon's responded back. He says tentatively June 22nd. So Bloomberg had told everybody it was going to be June 12th, and maybe they were right, maybe they weren't, maybe they just made it up, or heard from somebody that wasn't totally reliable, or maybe things got pushed back from that date to June 22nd, and of course things can change again. And Elon says we're being super paranoid about safety, so the date could shift. And then he also added the first Tesla that drives itself from factory end of line all the way to a customer house is June 28th. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, it would be more fun, of course, if the customer was, let's say, in Old Wine, Iowa, or someplace.
Mm-hmm. Somewhere in Alaska, maybe it would be
Yeah,
even more fun.
that'd be good. Yeah, that'd be good.
The car has to cross through the Canadian border first, and yeah, that would be fun. If a vehicle with no driver showed up at the Canadian border, what would happen? Yeah, these are things that will be tested at some point, Randy.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Yeah. And then Elon added, the automakers keep being told that this isn't real or that it's just buying some hardware from NVIDIA will solve it. As Tesla robotaxis become widespread and their other solutions don't work, they will naturally turn to us. He's talking about FSD licensing here.
Uh-huh.
So we shall see.
We shall.
In my opinion, the time has kind of come and gone for this opportunity, but we'll see. Perhaps it's not too late.
We were wondering out loud the other day a couple of things. One is whether it really matters, and especially does it really matter in terms of the amount of money that it might produce?
Not really.
Would it really be a needle mover? You'd have to charge an awful lot per vehicle or an awful lot per mile or something in order to make it a needle mover. But we'll see.
Yeah, my question is, how long will it take an auto company to, if they sign an agreement, to actually produce a vehicle that works?
Yeah.
Right. Let's say it's 3 years from now.
Probably 2
Right.
minimum and probably 3.
Yeah. So where's Tesla going to be in 2 or 3 years with Robotaxi?
Yeah.
So, at that point, is there much room? Is there even much interest on Tesla's part to work with anybody? And that's why I say I think the time has kind of come and gone for this opportunity.
Yeah.
They should have done this a couple of years ago. But we'll see.
We'll see.
And then Elon adds, or a different comment, he says, these are unmodified Tesla cars coming straight from the factory, meaning that every Tesla coming out of our factories is capable of unsupervised self-driving. And we've already seen that from Joe Techmeyer's drone flyovers, vehicles driving themselves to the pickup point where they get picked up by the trucks.
Mm-hmm.
And then so Stuart Zuckerman asks, what software version do these cars have? Is it the same version as what we're using on our hardware for cars? Or is it a newer version that will be available to us soon? And Elon responded, he said, it's a new version of software, but will merge to main branch soon. We will have a more advanced model on alpha stage that has 4 times the parameters, but still requires a lot of polishing. That's probably ready for deploy in a few months. So that's a big difference. A model that's 4x the size of the one that they're using now.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
some interesting, I think, developments for FSD from now to the end of the year.
yep.
Yeah. So that was good. That interesting. And then Confucius says, at the pace they're pushing FSD will be 100x better than Lewis Hamilton at driving around a racetrack. And Elon responds to that. He says Tesla AI slash autopilot could probably beat the best human around a track already. Now that would be an interesting thing to try. And I suppose at some point they will.
Um,
And then he adds, he says, eventually it won't really be a contest at all. Human reflexes cannot match machines.
yeah, I think almost coincidentally with that post, there was a headline where an actual, as opposed to simulation, an actual jet, autonomous jet, was able to beat
Oh,
a manned jet. Yeah, I think that was this week. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I didn't catch that, but that doesn't surprise me. It reminds me of the AlphaGo documentary where Google's DeepMind, invented an AI that beat the world's best
Yes.
Go player. And Go is a very complex game.
Right.
And I'll never forget the look on that guy's face when he was beaten by the machine. And this type of experience, I think, is coming for many, many fields. And it would be fun to watch the world's best F1 drivers get beat by an autonomous, F1 car at some point. Yeah,
Or just a Model S.
just the Model S. Well, I doubt that. The F1 cars are pretty amazing machines. Can probably corner a little faster than a Model
Faster.
S.
Well, maybe it'll have to be a roadster then. There you go.
That's right. And then we continue here. Holmar's catalog says, does Robotaxi software have 3x larger model compared to 3.2.9? Or will we just get the 4x parameters later this year? And Elon responds, 4.5x increase. He's actually expanding it now.
Hmm.
Should be ready for wide release later this year.
Hmm.
Super frugal use of memory bandwidth, caching exactly what is needed, and squeezing microseconds out of everything are needed to maintain the frame rate. And the whole system needs to be retrained. So hence the need for more and more NVIDIA chips, more Dojo, more megapacks. Yeah.
So, this morning I did people that didn't watch it, they can go back and take a look at the video I did this morning. Actually, yeah, this morning, because this will be on Wednesday night. I'm Thursday night. Thursday morning, I did a video where I was talking about the differences between Tesla and Waymo, Uber, and any of the other ones who think they're going to have autonomous driving. And a key one, which I think is easy enough to forget, is the inference chip that's in the car, as well as the data center and the data. So those are
Yeah.
three kind of parts of the same stack. And where we certainly know that Google has massive compute potential, but they don't have the data. They don't have the inference chip that's equal to the inference chip that we currently have in the Tesla vehicles. When Elon's talking about a brand new update that'll have 4.5 times the parameters, and it has to be retrained, there's no way that any of these other guys, even if they were equal to Tesla last week, could from today produce the next level product and also train it, because the requirements for training are on the level of what Tesla has.
That's right. I think that gets lost in this discussion that, oh, other automakers are going to have this at some point. Well, Tesla's not going to be standing still. This process of improving the model is going to continue for a long time to come. Right? Getting safer than a human is not the end goal. That's just
Right.
really the start.
Right.
You and I talked about this, I think, some months ago. In order to get to, 99.99999, accident free or whatever you want to call it, the model is going to have to be, superhuman,
Right. Right.
right? And that's going to be a task for Tesla for, I would guess, at least a decade.
Well, you did make some kind of a post earlier today about the Singularity being here next Thursday, I think.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was by Sam Altman. Yeah, he thinks it's going to sort of quietly arrive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there seems to be, obviously with this, which is a major breakthrough, and Tesla fans and investors are excited about it. There's always some pushback, and so Sven Heinrich down here says, "I really don't get the self-driving hype. I like driving." So Romain pointed out, he said, "Cool, Sven, you can drive," but he says, "Here are people who can't. The blind." The elderly, well, there's plenty of elderly that can drive, but I get his point. There's some that can't or prefer not to.
Or a combination of the elderly and blind at night.
That's right. The disabled, in many cases, disabled folks can't drive. This right, so that's helpful. The unlicensed, well, they shouldn't be driving, but many do. The foreign tourists, I'm not sure about that. Many of them do drive, but I get this point. Children, excellent point. The French, that's just funny. The medically unfit, I think that sort of fits up here, but anyway. Rural folks, that's also funny.
Yeah.
Unfair, but funny. And the cognitively impaired. So he's come up with a pretty good list here of people that, quote unquote, can't drive.
And he left out everybody in New York City, Rome. Um, I can think of a few more. Taipei. I'm trying to think of the cities that I will not drive in. There's a few.
There's a few that is a bit crazy, yeah. So I added my 2 cents to this, and I said, I don't get the dishwasher machine hype. I like washing dishes. I don't get the washing machine hype. I like scrubbing my own clothes for hours a day. I don't get the indoor plumbing hype. I like ... in the woods.
That's pretty funny,
Um,
Cern.
well, thank you.
Did your
Um,
wife write that?
no,
Oh, okay, okay.
no. I know everybody thinks that she writes my jokes, but I come up with these zingers myself, Randy.
Okay, okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, we're always going to have people that, pushing back on innovation technology that's to be understood. And so the best response to that is a little bit of humor, I think.
Absolutely. And I would have said something obvious like the flip phone.
Yeah. I'm trying to come up with new material.
I thought so. Yeah.
Elon's talked about, flip phone. It's like riding a horse looking at a flip phone or something. So
Right. Right.
we've got to come up with our own material. And then today, the CyberCab was unveiled in Paris,
Yeah.
Paris, France, not Paris, Kentucky.
Or Paris,
Um,
California, which is only a few blocks from here.
yep. And then Kimball Musk says this is going to make a real difference for getting around Paris. Tesla FSD can handle narrow alleys and pedestrians so well. So that's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
And we also saw a video today of Tesla vehicle navigating through Rome.
Right. 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 And this was an official Tesla video.
Yes, pending regulatory approval.
And as I just mentioned, Rome would be one of those cities. It's
Yeah.
impossible. You do not want to drive in Rome.
I'm wondering if any of our European friends can tell me why traffic circles give the right of way to the people coming in rather than the people in the circle.
In the circle.
Because if you're in the circle and everybody else has the right of way to come in, then how do you ever get out?
Yeah, you could get into one of those endless problems.
Yeah. Just one thing I just don't understand. Maybe somebody can set us straight on that.
That would be a job for Bradford Ferguson since he lives in the city of roundabouts.
That's right. He is the roundabout capital of the United States.
Right, right.
Yeah. Did they convert pretty much every intersection?
I don't know.
I think it was some colossal change. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, according to Sawyer, it says that we've now seen FSD supervised being used or tested in Italy, Netherlands, France, Australia, Canada, US, China, and Mexico.
Hmm.
So the list of countries is growing where testing has happened.
Hmm.
I think maybe Norway should also be on that list as a place that they've tested.
Possible.
I'm
Possible.
not entirely sure.
Yeah.
And then Elon has had a couple comments on this lately. Yesterday, he said waiting for Dutch authorities and then EU to approve. very frustrating and hurts the safety of people in Europe, as driving with advanced autopilot on results in 4 times fewer injuries. A little typo there. Driving with advanced autopilot results in 4 times fewer injuries.
Right.
Take out the word on. Please ask your governing authorities to accelerate making Tesla safer in Europe. So he's asking for the people to rise up.
Rise up. Yes, but
Yeah.
not with protesting signs or marching on capitals or anything. Yeah.
No. Let's do it in a peaceful way. And then today, he said public support is much appreciated. FSD in Europe will save lives of people in the car, as well as vulnerable road users like pedestrians, cyclists, and pets. Pets shouldn't be on the roads, but many are. Please let your government know that you want approval. So he's asked twice now in the last 2 days for people to assist in this.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was responding to Alexander here saying, after yesterday's post regarding FSD not being allowed in Sweden/Europe, I was asked by several Swedes, what can they do? So that's why Elon responded to this. Anyway, he's created an email template people can send to the Swedish Transport Administration.
Oh, nice.
So there's a bit of a grassroots effort here to try to put some pressure on some of the regulators.
Yeah.
So that's great. And then I kind of piped up and I said, an overabundance of caution is costing human lives. Why are politicians and regulators okay with that? And then I added to it, I said, if airplanes were falling out of the sky every 2 or 3 days, would we be okay with that? And my friend Lewis says this post, every premature death is a tragedy. There are 40,000 traffic deaths in the US every year. 2 million more are sent to the hospital with many life-altering injuries. I welcome autonomy to our roads. We can't lose sight of what we're trying to solve here.
Yeah.
Not just about, I like driving, therefore, we should all drive. I like not having people die on the roads.
Exactly. And so your analogy for a 707 would have been every 3 days. One falls out of the sky. Yeah.
Yeah. And unfortunate timing here with what happened in India today.
Sure.
So saddened by that. Hopefully that's not a systemic issue with the 787, but.
Oh, that is a 787. I'm sorry, I didn't notice. I said 707, which dates me terribly. But
great airplane. But
I remember in the 50s lining up for blocks to walk through a 707 at McDonnell Douglas at Lindbergh Field in St. Louis. It was a big deal. You dressed up and you went down and you stood in line to go inside the cabin. Yeah.
Yep. No, Boeing has made some pretty amazing airplanes. And the 787 is one of them for sure. And then Elon continues, the streets will change very rapidly. Autonomous cars will be very common throughout the world in 2 to 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So that causes me to, fire up the old spreadsheet when Elon makes comments like this.
Good.
So I think you and I have talked about this before. I did a sort of a Robotaxi ramp scenario here. And for the first part I did was, I modeled out in Austin, sort of a conservative, a moderate, and aggressive ramp.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I did is looked at, 50 cities, 100 cities, 150 cities. And just to sort of show that if you take the aggressive ramp in the US and apply it to 150 cities between now and December 2027, this is kind of the curve. You get over 700,000 vehicles.
Okay.
And this is one scenario. This is the aggressive ramp scenario.
Okay. It doesn't sound like Elon's aggressive ramp.
No, I think Elon's aggressive ramp is much higher.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. 700,000 or 750,000 vehicles in the US is not a whole lot compared to the total. Right?
Yes,
but
it'd be a good number.
It would be a good number. It would be a good start. And interestingly, from a trips per day perspective, you're looking at about 19 million trips a day. Once you get to that 750,000 vehicles, given conservative assumptions. Okay, so quite a bit. And more importantly, for Tesla investors, it results in something close to $30 billion of recurring annual profit, gross profit.
Oh, gross profit. Okay.
And that's less than, it's less than a million vehicles, 750,000 vehicles. So, we've talked about this before many, many times about the profit opportunity that is Robotaxi. And, the ramp now is going to be the key metric, in my opinion, to watch as an investor.
And that would be about, just for the United States, that'd be about 25% of an apple.
25% of an apple in terms of its gross profit.
Right.
Yeah. Tesla last year had gross profit just under 17, or the last 12 months as of Q1 had gross profit, I think, just under 17 billion.
Okay.
So this would be a pretty sizable increase over that. Yep. Yep. So, Randy, that brings us to an end of the presentation.
So were you when you're thinking in terms of the revenues and profits, was that at $1 a mile, or was that at still a larger number, do you think?
Why did I know that you would ask me that? So I assumed that the margin per mile would be about 70 cents.
About 70 cents. Okay.
That's margin per mile. So the cost is a little higher. That's probably over $1. It's only 150 miles per day per vehicle and 25 trips a day per vehicle.
Oh, okay. So those are pretty low estimates also, because even if they get down to $1 a mile for some locations, they might still be charging higher numbers for Friday nights and things of this nature. Okay.
I think it's easily conceivable the next couple of years the numbers are twice as high as what I just said in terms of the profitability and so on.
It could be
and then not to mention the mileage as well. So you could actually have a 2 to 4x increase on the numbers that I just shared.
Right. One of the things that when I was doing my video this morning, that I thought, I really need to ask Cern what he thinks about this. Some people think that I think that the infrastructure is one of the biggest moats that Tesla has. The existence of the charging stations, the service centers, et cetera, and that they can charge up and get cleaned, light maintenance at these locations, whereas the other companies don't have any such infrastructure. They're going to have to add that infrastructure wherever they go, either through third parties or by creating their own. Some people think that Tesla would, for their own fleet at least, would trickle charge them. I think that was Larry, actually. Maybe that was Larry Goldberg, that thought they would trickle charge them or put them in the low chargers, I guess like the ones we have at home on the 220, at service centers, as opposed to putting them into fast chargers at night at regular charging stations, let's say at 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever. And my thought was on that is that if there's other potential uses for the cars all night, deliveries, some of the other things that people have talked about, I can't imagine that the drain on the battery from fast charging would be anywhere close to the potential use case for having them out more hours per day. Do you have any thoughts at all on this?
Yeah, I mean, even when I've built a model that now includes potential delivery revenue.
Okay.
And even in that model where the utilization of the vehicle is much higher because you've got maybe half of the vehicle's time is being used for human rides and the other half is delivery of packages and so on, food deliveries. There's still a decent chunk of hours in the day for downtime, even in that model.
Right.
So it comes down to sort of, at any given point in time, what's optimal for that particular vehicle, that particular location, area. Depending on demand, then you use the fast chargers, get them out on the road, have them earn money. But if there is kind of a natural downtime, then you can charge them slower if that in fact is costing you less. We don't really know what Tesla is paying for their electricity at chargers versus what they would pay for electricity at their service centers.
Right.
Might be the same.
Might be the same. Yeah.
In that case, charge them as fast as you can and get them out there.
Yeah.
So, that's something that Tesla will no doubt, optimize. But yeah, to the extent that Tesla can find ways to use that vehicle besides just giving passengers rides, that is a nice opportunity for them.
Right.
Yep.
All right. And so your models, you and I have talked about a $3,000 valuation right now. And that's on a day when the stock went down. So, so the $3,000 valuation for today, based on I think that was both Robotaxi and Optimus, though, right?
It was.
Okay, so we just looked at a 2030 potential profit and brought it back to current valuation.
My present value calculation for Tesla is a discounted cash flow model out to, I think it was like 2050 or something like that.
Even 2050. Okay.
Yeah, or some distant period in the future. I'm looking at a long period of cash
Long,
flows. If you recall, we built a model with your assumptions,
right, right.
but in that whole process, we examined, how many years do you need to build a model for it to make sense, and what's the difference if you don't go out 30
Mhm.
years? What happens if you just do a 20-year model?
Right.
And we discovered that there wasn't a whole lot of difference because the discounting of those future cash flows between years 20 and 30
Mhm.
results in such small present values.
Right. Right.
So you really don't have to model out the earnings for the next 100 years to come up with a good number for Tesla. The next 15, 10, 15, 20 years are the really important ones.
And again, as I was going through the list of the moats, it does seem to me that the biggest moat of all, maybe the biggest, maybe, I mean, there's a number of moats that are pretty huge, including especially the data centers, et cetera. But I think the biggest moat is the manufacturing capacity, not even the cost of manufacturing, which is a massive moat, but
Yeah.
the fact that they can put a huge number of cars on the road by this time next year, which nobody else has anywhere close to the ability to put those kind of numbers on the road.
Well, I would quibble with you a little bit or put a little finer point on what you're saying. There are the companies that do have the manufacturing capacity, and actually some even greater,
Uh-huh.
right? But what they don't have is the speed that Tesla has. They can't turn that current manufacturing capacity around and make autonomous vehicles,
Right.
right? Because they don't have FSD and they just can't produce a cybercab, as quickly as Tesla can. That to me is the number one moat for Tesla in everything that it does. It's its speed of innovation and it's just the speed of getting things done. As frustrated as many people are that oh, this has been dragging on for years, it's actually been incredibly quick. Waymo's been at this now, I think, for what, 15 years,
Yeah. Yeah.
if
Yeah.
I recall.
Yeah.
So uh, Tesla's come, again, we've been watching this, and maybe because Elon's been promising, that FSD would be sold many, many years ago, it's still been a very quick process.
Yep. 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 Okay. Yeah. Very interesting. I like your nuance on that one. And with that clever nuance, I think that's a perfect place to stop. And for those of you who enjoy seeing, the Cern Basher stories unfold with color and beautiful graphs and charts, we'll probably do it again, maybe either Friday night or Saturday morning. So stay tuned for that. Cern, thank you as always for jumping on
Thanks,
board.
Randy.
And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.